Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Coach. Do you own a cat? People who live with and understand cats will answer no, because the cat owns you. Cats are fiercely independent. You never really know a cat. You never really own a cat. And what is to be said if you're the pastor of a church that is a cat? We'll talk about that today on Coffee with Coach. I have 3 goals for these videos: to help you become a better pastor and leader, to save you time and money, to help educate, energize, and motivate you to energize and motivate your church. Do you truly understand the nature of your church? In order to pastor and lead a church, you must first understand its nature. Will you treat a cat differently than you would treat a garden? Of course you would. So, how can we understand these differences and lead appropriately? The idea for this series comes from a 1984 book called Looking in the Mirror by Lyle Schaller. Full credit here. I was stunned by the brilliance of Schaller in understanding the nature of different size systems and how churches reflect those differences. Today's coffee mug says, "There's no love like mom's." Well, Mother's Day is coming this Sunday. Don't forget your mom. If you find these videos valuable, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. And if you do have questions or comments, you can add them below or email me at steve@revstevep.com. Love to hear from you. Do you own a cat? Probably not. When you really understand the nature of cat ownership, you realize that cats are independent creatures. They probably own you, but not the other way around. There are many churches that have the characteristics of a cat. These churches typically have less than 35 people in average Sunday attendance. They've been in existence for a long time and been small a long time. Usually the pastor stays around 2 to 3 years and moves on, so the congregation does not get very attached to the pastor. The congregation may suffer a bit of an abandonment syndrome because they expect that the better their pastor is, the more likely they will move on quickly. So they expect to be disappointed. As a result, they rarely take the pastor into their confidence. When someone goes to the hospital, the pastor may be the last to know. The cat-sized church tends to be a single-cell organism, barely a small group. It is really a family, and usually a very tight-knit family. It is almost impossible to kill. It has at least 9 lives. Pastors come and pastors go without any real change. In fact, when the pastor goes away to attend a seminar or for a vacation, the congregation may not even know he or she is gone. If the pastor isn't feeding the congregation, it will mouse for itself and do just fine. You don't have to feed it much or often for it to survive. Today, between 25 and 35% of all United Methodist churches fall into this category. It is very hard to help this church grow. They really have no incentive to grow as they are too self-satisfied to make the effort. They love one another so much it is impossible for them to consider that other people would not love them also. Yet they offer little to entice an outsider to spend time with them. Very cat-like. They ignore attempts of people to seek to win their affections. 3 kinds of pastors will most effectively serve a cat. First, a very happy and independent pastor with lots of outside interests who can ignore the cat and not have his or her ego bruised by the cat. 2, someone who is willing to serve a very small church for a very long time until the church breaks the habit of changing pastors regularly and begins to welcome new people. Or 3rd, an extremely talented and charismatic pastor who can attract and keep new members faster and better than the cat can drive them away. Linking 2 or even 3 cats together will have little to no effect on them. They will continue to think and be independent. But it can allow the denominational church to put together a financial package that allows one pastor to serve all of them and receive a full-time salary. There are country cats and there are city cats. Both will act about the same. However, the denomination may see them differently. A small country church will be seen as a stable church and will have little chance to grow or even thrive because there isn't enough population to support growth. The cat in the city will be seen as a high potential church. Pastors of city cats would be held to a higher expectation due to a larger surrounding population. Yet both cats are going to treat new people with the same disdain they always have, and it will be very difficult for either church to grow. As cities continue to push out into the surrounding communities, we often have cats in towns and villages that were small and haven't grown for years, then suddenly find themselves becoming swallowed up by a growing suburban center that dynamically changes the smaller city. The corporate church thinks that they have a church in that new growing area, and now the church will really grow well. This rarely happens without a pastor number 3 above, a charismatic pastor who's willing to bring in lots of new members. What does happen most often is that the cat gets crowded and begins to lash out at all the new people who have changed the nature of the cat's environment, ensuring that it will stay a cat. Cats, simply put, rarely change and aren't interested in being trained. But they are really hard to kill because they have survived that way for years and they really don't rely on the pastor to feed them. So, how can a pastor be an effective leader of a cat-like church? First, understand that it is a single-cell organism. Often one family dominates the climate and culture of the church. To lead this church, you must first become part of that family. That will take time, and it will be very frustrating, but it can be done. Second, do not allow yourself to be hurt by the cat ignoring you. It's not you, it's just the nature of the cat. Pastors are unimportant. They come and they go, and you are just the most recent one to pass through. So get over yourself. Third, change things, but change them slowly and with great explanations. Once you are part of the family, you can bring in new ideas. When you are well loved, you can bring in new people for them to love. Fourth, if you are able to grow to a larger worship size, embrace the next leadership style and prepare to shift up. In truth, this is very rare, but it can be done. You can, with care, help a cat learn to be a collie. What's a collie? Well, we'll talk about that next week. Is your church a cat? How will you lead your cat? I hope you found this video helpful. In the coming weeks, we will discuss the nature of very large churches, different sized congregations, and how best to lead those increasing sizes. So I hope you will subscribe and like my channel, and return in the weeks ahead to learn more about leading your church. Have a great week. See you next week on Coffee with Mom.